What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, undefeated, unified, 3-belt, WBC, WBA, IBF, welterweight, world champion, superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be top 2, if not number 1, definitely top 5 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. And Errol "The Truth" Spence Jr., 28 wins, no losses, no draw, 22 big wins by way of knockout. He is 32 years of age, 5'9.5", with a 72-inch arm reach. With that said, Errol Spence, he makes for 50% of the biggest fight in the sport of boxing currently as it stands today, between himself and undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the reigning WBO, World Boxing Organization welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the number 1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is 38 wins, no losses, no draws, 29 big wins by way of knockout. He is 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. Okay, with that said, Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, it makes for the biggest fight in boxing, right? And it looks like it's getting bleaker and bleaker, cloudier and cloudier that the fight is going to happen this year, okay? It's looking not so good that the fight is going to happen this year. There's speculation that the fight could take place in November 19th in Las Vegas, Nevada, but nobody truly knows when the fight is going to happen, okay? So with that said, you had a close friend of Errol Spence, Yellow Beezy, hip-hop mogul, entertainer. Yellow Beezy featured on Wallow and Gilly the Kid show, okay? $1 Million Worth of Game. Now, we know Wallow and Gilly the Kid, they are close friends and big fans. They both from Philadelphia, of undefeated welterweight superstar title contender Jaron Boots Ennis. Jaron Boots Ennis is 29 wins, no losses, no draw, 27 big wins by way of knockout. He is 25 years of age, 5'10", with a 74-inch arm reach. Okay, so he's next. He's on deck. Everybody views Jaron Boots Ennis as, you know, the guy that's in place to replace or dethrone Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, okay? Yellow Beezy obviously is best friends with Errol Spence Jr. And so, obviously the fight everybody wants to see is Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, right? So, you know, they was going off of debating, you know, who would win, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford is a dog. Errol Spence has admitted that, you know, he is like that. He's that dude. You know, so they went back and forth, right? And then, you know, obviously Jaron Boots Ennis' name was the subject of topic, right? And Jaron Boots Ennis is big. I always say this. He has all of Errol Spence and Terence Crawford's strengths and none of their weaknesses. Now, people will tell me, they're going to say, well, how do you know that? We have to see it on a large scale. We have to see it play out. He hasn't fought on that level. Now, he's fought Sergey Lipinets, former world champion, Thomas Delorme, former world champion, and he most recently fought against Custio Clayton, who was a welterweight title contender, okay? So, everybody's saying, well, he's unproven. Well, those fights didn't play out the way, you know, people thought. They thought it was going to be a tough competition fight. It was going to be a test for Jaron Boots Ennis. It didn't play out that way. Not because of Jaron Boots Ennis, and not because they didn't try, but he's just a level above them, right? It's going to take a very big name, even at this early stage of Jaron Boots Ennis' career, to test Jaron Boots Ennis. Plain and simple, okay? His talent is that great, and people don't want to see it because anything new that's, you know, starting to look great, people, you know, don't believe in it. It takes time to believe in it, and people go against it. You understand? When Michael Jordan was on the verge of becoming the best NBA player when he first got into the league, people didn't want to believe it. It was still Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Okay, Magic and Bird. No way this skinny little kid can carry a team. You know, it was the land of the bigs, and Magic Johnson was 6'9", Larry Bird is 6'9", 6'10", you know, and it's a big man league, and there's no way a guard like Michael Jordan is going to take over the league until they ain't have a choice but to believe it. And it's similar situations with Jaron Ennis, right? It's always going to be negative feedback, right? It's always going to be people that don't believe. They're going to drag their feet. You understand what I'm saying? It was the same way when it was Errol Spence, when he was becoming the boogeyman. Now he is the man. It was the same way when it was Terence Crawford. Nobody believed, you know, that Errol Spence was going to be who Errol Spence is, and Terence Crawford is, you know, it's always going to be pushback, right? And so Jaron Boots Ennis is slowly becoming, dare I say, quickly becoming the guy that Terence Crawford and Errol Spence is going to have to answer to at some point in time, right? And I can tell you now, the fact that Jaron Boots Ennis is in position to be the mandatory for Errol Spence Jr., okay, if he don't fight Terence Crawford, the demand for Errol Spence to fight Jaron Boots Ennis is going to get very, very heavy. It's going to get very, very heavy, okay? The demand is going to be very, very high, okay? Because that's the only acceptance that's going to come from Errol Spence. People are going to start to feel like Errol Spence is avoiding and ducking Jaron Boots Ennis, okay? Errol Spence holds the WBC title, okay? And Jaron Boots Ennis is number 3 in that ranking system. And the problem here is that Errol Spence has stated that he has no interest in fighting former unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith one-time Thurman, who is 30 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 23 wins by way of knockout, 33 years of age, 5'8" with a 69-inch arm reach. He has no interest in fighting him. In the WBC rankings, Jaron Ennis is number 3. Now, he's already stated he had no interest in fighting Keith Thurman, but he definitely wants to fight this year. And we heard reports that even if it's not Terence Crawford, he's going to fight November 19th with or without Terence Crawford. So that would leave undefeated WBC welterweight Mexican superstar title contender Vergil Ortiz Jr., who is 19 wins, no loss, no draw, 19 wins by way of knockout, 24 years of age, on the verge of being 25, 5'10" with a 70-inch arm reach. He's number 2 in the WBC rankings, right? Conor Ben is high on that list, but he's already tied up. We know Errol Spence only wants pay-per-view level fights, so that will leave those guys. Now you look at the WBA rankings. He can fight Amanda Stanionis, who's the WBA interim champion or regular champion, or however you want to describe him. He's 14 wins, no losses, no draws. He can fight Amanda Stanionis, right? But in the WBA rankings, you have Vergil Ortiz Jr. at number 1. You have Jaron Boots Ennis once again at number 2. Okay, then Keith Thurman and Conor Ben round out at 3 and 4, and we already know Conor Ben is tied up with Chris Eubanks Jr. and Keith Thurman. He already stated he don't want to fight Keith Thurman, right? Then you look at, you know, the other rankings, okay, the other ranking bodies. You know, he has the IBF rankings, okay, and in the IBF, you have Jaron Boots Ennis at number 1. Number 2 spot is vacant, which is really Vergil Ortiz. Conor Ben is at 4, and then you have Chua, I can't pronounce the Russian guy's name, Ukrainian guy name, okay? So at number 1 is mandatory for the IBF is Jaron Boots Ennis. So if he don't fight and agree to fight Terence Crawford, and he says he wants to fight anyway in November, the demand and the call for him to fight Jaron Boots Ennis is going to get extremely high. Okay, higher than the call for Terence Crawford to fight Jaron Boots Ennis, because Jaron Boots Ennis is not Terence Crawford's mandatory. He's Errol Spence's mandatory. So unless Errol Spence fights Amanda Stanionis, who's also his WBA mandatory challenger, he's going to have to fight Jaron Boots Ennis or people going to start to say he's avoiding and ducking Jaron Boots Ennis. Now, again, it's hard to say on short notice that you can't say Jaron Ennis don't have a fight. You understand? It's like, has Errol Spence backed himself into a corner demanding that he only fights Terence Crawford and would never fight Keith Thurman? Because now what do you do? And on top of that, Errol Spence is in a position where he also stated that he doesn't have many fights left at welterweight because he's outgrown the division. So how long is he going to stick around at welterweight division? Okay. And again, like I said, the next biggest fight has become the demand. And the reason I'm talking about this is because when you watch this interview with Yellow Beezy and Wallow and Gilly, then you see the amount of attention that Jaron Boots Ennis and Errol Spence fighting has garnered. The demand is going to be extremely high for Errol Spence to answer that bell for Jaron Boots Ennis. And they spoke on FaceTime before. It's you know, somewhat built up. And Jaron Boots Ennis, he fought in front of Errol Spence against Custio Clayton. He started yapping at Errol Spence. Errol Spence was yapping back. So it's building up. And also Jaron Boots Ennis is with Showtime President of Sports, Steven Espinosa, who Errol Spence is also with. So it makes it easy to happen. So it makes you wonder, is that the fight that Errol Spence is going to take next? I have no doubt Errol Spence has no lack of interest in fighting Jaron Boots Ennis. Okay, I have no doubt that Errol Spence has no resistance to fighting Jaron Boots Ennis. It's just, what does it do for him at this stage? But it's a big fight, and this is mandatory. That's what's going to make it hard to not take that fight, right? He's a big southpaw, Errol Spence, 5'9.5", 72-inch arm reach. Boots is big, you know, and obviously Jaron Boots Ennis has to prove it on the biggest scale, on the biggest stage. So that's what makes it interesting. So is Errol Spence backed into a corner, and is this Jaron Boots Ennis fight overshadowing and on the verge of being bigger for Errol Spence than Terence Crawford fight? I doubt it. Not yet. Not yet. But it's a huge fight, and it's on the brink. And Jaron Boots Ennis is knocking at that door. He ain't knocking at it. He's kicking the door. And he's letting them know, Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, he wants that fight right now. He's a switch fighter, switch from southpaw to orthodox. Very athletic, very big, very strong. And it's going to be hard for Errol Spence to justify not fighting him next if he don't fight Terence Crawford. More so than Terence Crawford not fighting Jaron Boots Ennis, because he's not his mandatory. So we got to see how this unfolds and plays out. And is the power to be willing to put that fight together? And again, another thing is Jaron Boots Ennis doesn't demand a massive purse either. Not that he ain't going to want to get paid for the fight, but I'm sure that he and his father, trainer and manager, Bozy Ennis, are more interested in the opportunity than the payday, because they understand that the payday is going to come down the line. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shouts out to the entire LDBC. Shouts out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.